Hello, my name is Dr. Joe Pojman. I'm Executive Director of Texas Alliance for Life, and I'm here with a really special guest. I'm here with Sue Liebel, who is with the Susan B. Anthony List and the National Pro-Life Women's Caucus, which is a project of the Susan B. Anthony List. And of course, they're based in Washington, D.C., fantastic organization, which Sue will tell us more about. Sue, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I wanted to hear some more about Susan B. Anthony List. You can tell our audience about them. One of the projects, of which you have many excellent projects, is this Women's Caucus. Tell us about both of those, and first of all, your involvement in those.
I'd be happy to. Susan B. Anthony List is the nation's largest pro-life political organization. That's what I said. We exist to be political. We were formed over 20 years ago to offset Planned Parenthood's PAC called Emily's List, their political action committee, raising money for candidates. And so we started the Susan B. Anthony List to become a PAC and to raise money to support pro-life candidates. And at that time, especially, members of Congress, especially the U.S. Senate, because the U.S. Senate is the body that confirms United States Supreme Court justices. And in order to overturn Roe versus Wade, we're going to need a very strong Senate so that, and of course, a presidency to appoint those judges, so that we can get that done. So we were formed for that very reason. I say we're the nation's largest because we have almost 900,000 members now across the country, and we're growing. Just to give you a scale of what we're doing, this last November, last month's election, which is still, of course, a question mark in a lot of ways, but it was our largest effort to date. We reached 8 million voters in multiple states. We had 1,000 people on the ground. We paid people to go door to door in key Senate districts, and of course, key battleground states for Donald Trump as president. So we actually go door to door with kind of pro-life, disenfranchised voters who maybe haven't voted in a while, and trying to get pro-life voters, including Democrats and Hispanics who claim to be pro-life. We educate at the door and encourage them and remind them to get to the polls. It's been a model that we've been honing in on for several election cycles now, and we're really hitting our stride. We made 2.5 million visits, and we also, then COVID hits, we made over 6 million phone calls. Our goal is to get pro-life public officials elected with the goal of overturning Roe versus Wade.
Fantastic. Let me just repeat that. You have 1,000 paid workers, and you reached, let's see, you said 6 million
8
voters
million.
by phone. 8 million voters.
Oh, 6 million by phone, yes, and plus 8 million total. Some of those we called and we went to the door, but COVID kept us in on the phones for a little while this year because everybody shut down for a while. But we did reach a total of 8 million voters. The 1,000 canvassers, those are gone. I mean, that's over now. Those are part-time jobs to go. A lot of college students, older folks who want to get out and get some exercise. Anybody really who wants to get involved and make a difference in the pro-life movement.
Wonderful. You know, I think we're not hearing about your efforts in the media. Maybe that's okay because you're under the radar, you're getting it done, and maybe a significant part of the success of the pro-life candidates, from Donald Trump down to this surge of new pro-life conservative House members, is due to Susan B. Anthony's list and other pro-life political organizations whom the media don't want to acknowledge exist, but you're getting it done, you're reaching voters, and you're getting those voters to the polls. Just absolutely fantastic.
You know what, Joe? Back in the day, you and I can remember the days, and it wasn't that long ago, that during campaigns, the pro-life issue, the issue of life, wasn't as front and center. And it's easy to forget that because today, Susan B. Anthony list and your efforts and everybody's efforts in the pro-life movement have made that a household issue. I mean, the abortion issue is a key platform issue now in the president's race, in the congressional races, and of course your state house races, which I want to be sure to talk about because we were on the ground in Texas this season, knocking on lots of doors.
Tell me about your involvement in Texas, and let me just say, we really appreciated it.
Sure thing, sure thing. It was our pleasure. We love Texas. We love your pro-life history and your stance, and we felt, like many, that it was very important for us to share our love with Texas this year. And we endorsed and knocked on doors in 5 different congressional races and in 23 state house races while we were on the ground. We reached about 650,000 voters in Texas. We had 110 canvassers doing all of the door knocking. We sent out 3.6 million mailers. We showed, we had views on 15, almost 16 million, clicks on viewing like a social media ad or something that you're viewing on your phone or Facebook or what have you. And we talked live to over 1 million voters in Texas.
Fantastic, outstanding. That's a huge portion of the electorate, the people who actually got out to the polls. And you talked to those people and motivated them to support pro-life candidates. We
spent $5 million, and it was good money because, as you know, you kept your state house, and you flipped a few races, and of course, the new crop of 18 and counting pro-life Republican women coming into Congress with Beth Van Dyne and others. You have to be very proud of that.
We are proud and grateful to you. Tell me about the National Pro-Life Women's Caucus, a big project of Susan B. Anthony's list.
Sure. Now we're kind of getting into my bailiwick here. In 2014, Susan B. Anthony list realized that a lot of the women that we were endorsing who were running for Congress had been, not all, but some had been previously like state legislators. They'd be a state senator or a state rep or state office holder, lieutenant governor, governor, and then run for Congress. And so we started, well, the other thing that was happening, and I'm sure you know so well with Wendy Davis and the war on women, was back at about that time too. And that's when women in the state houses, well, like, you're a woman, you authored the bill. We're gonna have women to author these bills, so we can't be blasted for just being men authoring pro-life bills. So it all kind of was a perfect storm for us to recognize that state women were in the forefront. They were in the limelight. They were leading these bills, like Jody Laubenberg, former Representative Jody Laubenberg, Senator Donna Campbell. They're in the spotlight, and taking, of course, the slings and arrows from the media, but also showing the leadership and the strength to get that done. So we started the National Pro-Life Women's Caucus. I'll never forget talking one day with former Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, Rebecca Kleefisch. And she said, you know, when I ran for office as a young mother, full-time job, husband worked full-time, I had kids in school. She said, I'd fall into bed at night and all I had was my Bible and a little booklet from Susan B. Anthony list on how to run for office. How do I do all that as a woman, as a strong leader that she was? And so we started the Pro-Life Women's Caucus to equip women with the tools that they need. You know, we have the Charlotte Lozier Institute, which is also a program of Susan B. Anthony list, where we have a lot of medical and medical research, doctors, research scholars that are weighing in on a lot of life issues. We have a lot of.
We've had some of your scholars come down to Texas to testify on our pro-life bills. Thank you very much. Excellent.
Very good. That's exactly why we're there, as well as Congress. We have a nice footing there to provide the research and the data, so that decisions are data-driven. So anyway, we started the caucus to bring those resources, those tools, even pray together. Women asked for prayer because these were pretty tough times as that pro-life issue finally made its way into popularity, but it wasn't easy getting there. So it's kind of like an academy. I will just kind of describe it like that. It's an academy of women who we've got not quite 200 women from 43 different states and growing, and of course the women from Congress. So here's just one example. A woman from a state house called me one day and said, I'm thinking of running the dismemberment bill. Could you link me with women from other state legislatures who have run that so that we can talk? I can ask them, you know, what are the pitfalls? What are the tips? And so I was able to connect women from other states to talk with each other and to share with each other, as well as give them the resources. So the Women's Caucus is, and then of course, we've seen some of our members then go on to run for Congress. In the state of Arizona, State Senator Debbie Lesko, for example, was appointed to fill a open congressional seat. So she's now in Congress. And so then, you know, we know her already, and we have a relationship built when women get to Congress. When I come to a state house to visit all across the country, I usually host a breakfast or a coffee or something for women House and Senate members to meet me, to meet Marilyn Musgrave, former Congresswoman. You may know who that is. She's our vice president. I bring her with. And
great
the women
lady. We love Marilyn Musgrave.
And it's a time of networking and a time of fellowship with women who are leading the charge. I was in your state house last year, in fact, and had a breakfast, a light breakfast for a lot of your women. Unfortunately, I chose budget week, so that was pretty busy for them. But it was nice to be there. I was glad to be in Texas and meet a lot of your women.
Yes, very good. What do you see as goals that you'd like to see state legislators adopt? I'm thinking about Texas, which in our session is As we wind down the elections, the dust settles, we have discovered that the huge blue wave of tens of millions of dollars of out-of-state money crashed on the rocks and went nowhere.
Right.
We have a stronger, more pro-life Texas House. We still retain a supermajority of pro-lifers in the Texas Senate. We have a governor, Greg Abbott, who is very pro-life. What do you think is a worthy goal for our legislature to take on when they meet in January?
Do want to give a shout out to your governor. Susan B. Anthony List gave him our award 2 years ago in Washington. Yeah, let me outline a couple things. We have spent the last 2 to 3 years doing some research and some visioning of what really needs to happen from a policy perspective in the states, in the circuit courts, to get things into the pipeline to hit at Roe versus Wade, to undercut Roe versus Wade. And as you know, there are lots of things, and you're no stranger in Texas to these lawsuits. But every wise decision, every wise policy choice can help. We've been looking at that, and we have 3 primary policy recommendations for states and especially for Texas. One is designed to hit at the Roe, this is kind of technical, but the viability standard, which I know you are aware of, Joe, under Roe versus Wade, to try to smack at that viability standard and break that out. Clinic regulations don't do that. Every different kind of bill has a different topic or a different push. They're all good, but we believe that the anti-discrimination bill, which is the one where it would ban abortion for the reasons of the baby's sex, the baby's race, if it has a disability like Down syndrome or something. You've seen these in other states. There's a lot of momentum on that. We particularly like the bill because on the legal side, that's going to hit right at the viability standard, and Roe versus Wade has never been challenged from the question of discrimination. Also, we really like the 20-week fetal pain limit bill. Now, in this day and age, 20 weeks sounds so late with so many other bills passing the earlier versions, and that's okay. But again, legally kind of boring, but getting at that viability standard. You know, Roe versus Wade still says that a state doesn't have the jurisdiction to regulate abortion too much before viability. And this would say, because the baby can feel pain, it's actually about 18 weeks now, so we have some updated language. A lot of our states passed this, you passed it in my state too, in the early versions. And now we have so much more technology. We know we can prove that fetal pain is earlier. So we're tweaking a little language around the country when we can to back that up a little bit, because that gives the state the duty to protect those babies. So it asserts a state interest. And then finally, as you and I have talked recently.
Just on that, and of course, Texas has passed the 20-week ban.
Right.
It was passed in 2013. That has not been challenged by the courts,
right.
But it has, we believe it's probably saving 200-300 lives a year, and we monitor very closely the abortion facilities in Texas, of which there are
right.
now 23, and they, at least on their advertisements, they're complying with that. So that means lost business for them,
right.
because these later abortions, they can charge a whole lot more. But more importantly, it's saving lives and averting tragedies.
And
the
you know, the
babies
early
and the mothers,
bills,
and that's a very good thing.
it is. And with, you know, in 2013, I even did it in my state. We called that 20 weeks post-fertilization. But the fact is, if I think I'm pregnant, I go to the doctor. The doctor doesn't ask me, when were you fertilized? The doctor asks me, when was your last menstrual period? That's called gestational age. And if we back that up to gestational age, we back up that the baby's age, we can save more babies that way. Plus, if you have to go to court and if we have to prove it or whatever, which of course we can, that is the gold standard is the gestational age of the baby, not the post-fertilization age. Again, kind of boring legal stuff, but it saves more lives. And we think it's very, very important. Finally, I would just like to share that the abortion industry's new frontier, it's no secret, is the chemical abortion pills. They make it sound so easy. They want to take away all regulation. They want to be able to mail her the pills in the mail. They want telemedicine, of course, you know that. They want to just do away with every safety mechanism. For example, if she has Rh negative blood, which would require a blood test, if she takes those pills, it could stop her future fertility forever. If she has an ectopic pregnancy, the pregnancy in the fallopian tube, and she takes those pills because she ordered them on the internet, she will not know that she has an ectopic pregnancy, and it could rupture and kill her. And so the industry is just brazenly moving forward. And unfortunately, we are fearful of a new administration in Washington that has indicated that it would have the Food and Drug Administration remove all those safety regulations. If that happens, it's the wild, wild west. It's the irony that it's kind of the chemical coat hanger where the industry itself is taking them back to those days where there's no medical oversight and it's just an incredible irony. But unfortunately, women would be on their own, literally on their own to handle their complications. And the pills have a 4 times more complications than the surgical kind of abortion, but yet want that to be, you know, freewheeling. So we have a model bill. We've several of our national organizations have come together for the first time that I'm aware of, and we've held hands and said, kumbaya, if there's one thing that we need to do across this country, it's to lock in some regulations on chemical abortion before this toothpaste gets out of the tube. And so we had a webinar. I think you and some of your colleagues may have joined us for that a couple weeks ago. We have a model bill that we'd like to talk some more about for Texas to continue to strengthen health standards for those pills.
Yes, and by the way, in Texas we call it the horses getting out of the barn, but
Okay.
Same idea. We are very concerned. Texas does have very good drug-induced abortion safety standards right now. They were passed in 2013 with our House Bill 2. The governor signed that into law. That was Governor Perry. That we did see a drop in drug-induced abortions, chemical abortions, after that went into effect, which is a good thing for the reasons that you said. These are not safe abortions. It's not like pushing a button on a vending machine and getting a gumdrop. It's a very serious medical procedure. And if a woman has I think you mentioned this, if a woman has an ectopic pregnancy, she takes this could cause a serious risk to her very life, because it's not going to prevent the baby from continuing to develop in her fallopian tube or somewhere else outside the uterus, and that could cause her death. And she would not know this was coming. So we're very concerned about this. The drug-induced abortions are substantially, as you said, 4 times more dangerous, more complications to the woman than a conventional surgical abortion. So we don't want this to be a mail order abortion state. And we're looking at your model legislation. Thank you for developing that. We are going to be recommending that to the legislature and working with a coalition of groups down here to make that happen. It's going to be a tough session. COVID is going to be very difficult, and we don't yet know how the legislature is even going to be meeting in this. In our Texas Capitol, a lot of other folks who are watching this have been to the Capitol. Thank you. They know it's a very open process to the public, but we don't yet know how open it's going to be in this COVID pandemic environment. But nevertheless, we're going to asking people to get involved, contact their state senator and representative. And of course, as this develops, we're going to have a lot of information on our website, texasallianceforlife.org, so people will know what bills we're advocating and which ones are the best ones, and how they can really get involved to make those happen.
Good. Great. That sounds great, Joe. Thank you for that. We want to help in any way that we can.
You're going to be. Let me ask you, Sue, how can people support your organization, Susan B. Anthony List?
Oh,
how can they get more information?
Thanks for asking that. Well, number one, I would ask for prayer. We're right in the middle, just right in the vortex of the battle for life. And so prayer is important. Our website is easy. It's SBAList, SBALIST.org. On our website, you'll find ways to get engaged by, getting in our action alert system. You can sign up for that to get emails and heads up on things. You can give. We would appreciate any support we can get. We've been really stretched this year, as has everyone, but this election season has been particularly busy. And also, you can see more about all the various programs that we have. Our Charlotte Lozier Institute, which is our strong research foundation, is also a link to our site, and you'll just blow your mind how many resources, how many short, easy to read papers are on there on various medical issues having to do with life. So we appreciate all the support we can get.
You've been putting out, your Charlotte Lozier Institute has been putting out some great information about the COVID vaccines, which ones are using cells derived from aborted babies and which ones are not. And people are going to want to go to Charlotte Lozier Institute to their website.
There's a kind of an easy chart to discern by brand name of the vaccine and whether or not it used fetal cells or the stem lines. And so I highly recommend going to the Charlotte Lozier Institute website to see that chart before you choose.
And for Charlotte Lozier Institute, just to clarify, is a project, or they're associated with Susan B. Anthony List. So,
that's right.
Yes. Well, Sue Liebel, I want to thank you for taking the time to being with us. We're looking forward to when the dust clears and everything's safe, getting you to Texas, and hopefully sooner rather than later. And we will help you with the reception if that's what you want to do. Thanks so much for all the great work you're doing, and we'll look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Texas. Thanks for all you're doing down there, Joe. Appreciate you.